Ian White, you are one of the UK's foremost estate agency consultants. I'd like to ask your question about this personal branding versus estate agency company branding. Talk to me.
Yeah, I think it's now becoming an essential part of an estate agent's required method. I think the parent brands are, they're the badge, if you like, but underneath it are the behaviours of the individuals. And I absolutely have always believed, regardless of how good or bad the badge brand is, that the actual individual is the person who puts the ball in the net and determines whether that customer comes back time after time or recommends you. So. And I think we're sort of learning from our Australian counterparts that they very much are a personal brand that works underneath a umbrella brand. Some of them are just personal brands, full stop. They work under their own brands in effect. So I think that's massively overlooked in the UK. I think it has been for some time. I think it's a flaw in our generic makeup, and it goes hand in hand with the self-employed conversation, doesn't it? So,
I was going to talk about self-employed in another video, but tell you what, let's move all into one: personal branding and self-employed, because personal branding does kind of go with the self-employed route. Do you think that is the way forward for UK estate agency?
I think it is. I think it's going to be a slow burn for us because I think there is still this need for people to want to have a basic salary, and I think there is probably still an inherent need in most people's thinking that they want to be in control or total control of the employee through the salary. I personally think that's a little bit flawed, a bit old-fashioned, and I think it's also curtailing the ability to really get the high performers. I think the owners of the business need to provide a really strong plug-in brand that provides all of the services that a really good estate agent would need. And I think they should go hunting these guys that have hit a glass ceiling, can't go any further, don't have the $250,000 it might take to go and set up their own traditional estate agency, and give them a good entry into owning their own business.
Is there anyone out there that you look to thinking they're doing a good job?
Yeah, well, I think you can't. I mean, Richard James in Swindon are certainly moving in that direction. They have some brilliant forward-thinking ideas around this space, and I think.
Well, he's in Swindon. I think he's opened an office in Brighton, hasn't he?
He's had the one in Brighton for some time.
Yes.
He lives in Brighton, but they're moving their entire system to be able to take in.
Yes.
In some cases, competitors that have not done very well for themselves, saying, "I can't compete anymore. Let me come and join you." And certainly in Swindon, he has a very strong argument because they're so market dominant in terms of...
He's got about 30%, 35% market share.
Yeah, in terms of the listings, he'll be there or thereabouts. And
he's a good operator. I've had a chat with him. Really nice guy.
Yeah, very clever. Him and his whole team are very good. Keller Williams, you can't ignore. I mean, they're over from the States. Ben, I know very well. He's a brilliant leader, and they've got some very good people in that business. And they appear to be, well, they are certainly a self-employed model, and they certainly appear to be growing, which is fabulous. Perry Power, I think, I like a lot about some of his modern ideas. I mean, he does have self-employed people, but I think he also delivers his strategy in the house to the consumer in a really good way.
Sean Newman and the Fine & Country Boys, they impress me, definitely.
Sean's marketing machine to attract would-be estate agents is fabulous. Sean himself is a well-known guy within the industry. So if you were a self-employed person, or if you were somebody that was minded to go self-employed, and you were in a geography that suited, you'd pick up the phone to Sean. For sure.
We've got Adam Day from EXP. I mean, they've only just launched in the summer, so it's early days for them. But they seem to be making some noises, and Adam's told me the sort of numbers that they're going to be launching with, which look quite impressive for an American firm.
You probably know more about it than I do. I haven't taken a lot of interest in it until it's sort of really an itch that I need to scratch. But
okay. I mean, you've gone into detail slightly with Perry. What do you particularly like about Keller Williams?
I think that they provide world-class training for their people. I mean,
bang on. I agree with you. I mean, Ben is quite inspirational, but interestingly, I was talking to the inimitable Simon Shinerock. He believes that the self-employed model won't work so well because the mindset of the boss of the market centre needs to be absolutely bang on, and there isn't enough money in it for it to be shared around. What's your thoughts on that?
I think he may well be right. Who knows? There is definitely a...
It's got to be the right person at the top, hasn't there?
But that's whether it's self-employed or employed.
Yes.
I don't think that makes any difference. For me, a business will fail or succeed on its people first. The level to which it exceeds might then come down to marketing, branding, and all the other bits and systems and processes. But you cannot succeed with poor-minded people.
Let's come back to this fear of people wanting a regular income. What would you say to someone who is feeling that hitting a glass ceiling? Is it a case of they're going to be there for the rest of their life, or just curtailing their spending for a couple of years to build up a buffer?
Yeah, I think certainly my advice would be to look at it. I mean, most of them, if they really thought about it, would be able to very cost effectively take some money out of their property to see them through a short period. If they were minded to go and have their own business, I would say try this route first. And I think in most cases, they'd find themselves reaching their financial and spiritual goals quicker and easier in a self-employed without as much risk. Now, if they get to that point and still feel that they actually want to do something different, they would have already have one half of a step. Although I believe that the Richard James model, the Keller Williams model, will probably keep a load of them there anyway.
Yes.
Because they will earn the amount, they'll have the freedom of their time. Because they're only making the move for a number of different reasons. One is probably to get more control of their time, possibly to get rid of a boss and boring morning meetings or whatever it is that they just don't like the constraints of routine. They don't have the final say. Purple Bricks were supposed to provide that to their people, but as we know, that system's gone badly wrong. Primarily because you just can't earn the money they say you earn and still have your time. There's a lack of transparency in exactly what happens when you get there. There isn't in some
Isn't it interesting that the likes of the Purple Bricks and the Yopas have actually opened the door on the idea to self-employed? It's interesting that talking to a number of the people that we've mentioned is that the lowest hanging fruit are the people that work for Purple Bricks and Yopa.
They probably are, because they're already self-employed. They have nothing to lose. If you've not got a basic salary to lose, then you're not giving anything up. The only difference, I suppose, is their model allows you to earn from day one of starting, whereas the traditional pay on results model, there's a lag, isn't there, between earning? Mm-hmm. But if you can get through the lag, the earning potential is far greater. It's
delayed gratification, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, only time will tell, but I believe in the next 10 years, a good 30% of the industry will be self-employed. I've gone on record on that one, and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Ian, thank you.